a webinar of the Tri-State Dairy Exchange. As folks join us here, as you can notice in our first title slide, this is going to be the first webinar of our yearly and annual series. So our theme for this year includes topics related to advancing dairy systems through technology. And for our first webinar, we're going to talk about on-farm wearables. And this is going to be a part one of part two. So tune in next month to hear more about wearables. So we'll be meeting on February 25th and again on March 25th. These webinars are hosted on the last Wednesday of every month from 11:30 to 12:30 Eastern. And you can scan the QR code on the screen to share or register in this link and learn more about the future and upcoming webinars. We have more information there. Uh, for folks who are joining us and haven't attended previous webinars, uh, this is a tri-state effort between the three northern New England states, Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. And our goal is to advance dairy management and address industry challenges through innovation, collaborative educational programs. And so our team is comprised of various dairy specialists throughout the three states, myself in Maine, Sarah in New Hampshire, and Whitney and Amber at the University of Vermont. For folks interested in learning about what's happening in your state or coming to one of our events here in Maine or New Hampshire and Vermont, you can see we have a ton of events happening in the next couple of months. So in New Hampshire, folks may know that this weekend is the Grazing and Livestock Conference, and that's going to happen on the 30th and 31st, and that's in Manchester, New Hampshire. On February 4th, there is a webinar that's going to be discussing impacts of seed treatments on beneficial insects and field crop production. February 17th, there will be a selling meat, poultry, and dairy products at New Hampshire Farmers Markets event. On the 18th of February, there will be a webinar on corn hybrid seed selection, field crop pests, and seed production. And then additionally, there is the New Hampshire Dairy Practices Council is putting on the New Hampshire Dairy Management Conference, which will happen on March 24th. And you can look more into these events by looking at that website or contacting one of the state specialists. In Maine, I want to note that every Wednesday we release a podcast episode of the Maine Farmcast. And then we are hosting a milk quality workshop. So look for more information for that coming soon. And then lastly, in Vermont, there's a lot of events happening regarding milk quality. So stay tuned for that. February 12th, there'll be an on-farm milk culturing mastitis management event. The Vermont Dairy Producers Conference is going to be occurring on February 17th. There's also the No-Till and Cover Crop Conference on February 19th. And then there's a workshop on bedded pack management on March 4th. March 5th, the Dairy Sustainability Day is going to be happening, and then the Organic Dairy Conference will occur on March 6th. The folks at UVM really have a lot of events back to back. So I'm sharing our January featured resource, and if folks haven't been tuned to this resource, the University of Kentucky has quite a publication list that can be really useful for dairy farmers. So they cover a variety of topics regarding nutrition, animal housing, dairy herd management, as well as grazing management. And you can access this on their extension portal, but it's a really great resource for folks wanting to learn more about various topics. And now I'd like to gear everybody's attention to our featured speakers today. So we're going to talk about on-farm wearables, and specifically that's what the cow wears. And we'll be talking about other technologies here throughout the remainder of the year. So today we have two speakers. We have Rebecca Colgan, who is the Northeast Customer Success Specialist for Merck Animal Health, And then we have Joseph Gilbert, who is the account manager for smaXtec Incorporated. And I'm going to let each of these folks introduce themselves as they speak in their order. So first up, I want to give you the floor, Joe. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to learning from you.
Let's see.
And I can see it's starting to pop up.
Let's see if I can get this. Well, maybe that's all I'm going to get. Well,
We can see that. So we
okay.
can see the first slide inside monitoring not technologically unparalleled. That's the first slide.
Should be able to go to full screen here. Hold on a second.
Sure.
There's a little bit of a lag. Yep, we'll go with this. Um, Thanks for inviting me and allowing me to do this. My name is Joe Gilbert. I've been with smaXtec for 4 years. smaXtec has been in the business of monitoring cows since 2009. Been in the U.S. market, direct marketing for 4 years. Um, smaXtec does monitoring slightly different than the rest of the market monitoring systems on the market. We monitor from inside the cow. So the bolus is administered once, maintenance free. There's no collar to adjust, no ear tag to get ripped out in a headlock. Um, doesn't get in the manure pumps and damage manure pumps. Uh, Inside parameters are very precise. We are accurate within 0.18 degrees Fahrenheit, which allows us to do quite a few things that to some of the other monitoring systems can't do. And if we look at the kind of a standard graph, the black line that goes straight across is the average core body temperature for 5 days. The squiggly green line is rumination. Ideally, we want rumination to stay within the green shaded area. And we do have this graduated into day increments. So 24 hours is this shaded area. And then this, you got another 24 hours. So it's pretty easy to tell what day you're working with. You look a little further down the graph, you see a blue line that drops. That's actually the internal body temperature of the cow. That's actually the temperature of the bolus. So every time that drops is an indication of a drinking bout. So we keep track of how often a cow drinks, and we keep track of how often an individual cow drinks as well as the group. So if a group of cows quits drinking, you will get alert for cows not drinking as a whole group. So you get one alert instead of an alert for every individual cow. The lighter blue line below that is the algorithm calculated from the darker blue line, and that's the actual volume of water. So we can give you the actual volume of how much water the cow drinks in a day. We are the first in the world to be able to give you that, and we can give it to you in gallons or liters, whatever your preference. And understand early detection. This graph kind of shows a kind of a typical mastitis case. So right here, you see an increase in body temperature. The temperature is above the black line, which throws an alert, which looks like a red thermometer. Anytime a cow has an infection, there's going to be an immune reaction, and that is presented as increase in temperature. And we go 3 days later, she has another high temperature. And another 2 days later, she has a third high temperature with a rumination drop. This is where you see that. That's where the cow's clinical. When a cow feels like crap, she quits eating and rumination drops. But if you do a CMT paddle on this incident 5 days early, you can actually catch this cow with mastitis potentially 5 days before a rumination drop. And that allows you to do some form of therapy for that cow for the mastitis, and instead of waiting 5 days and having to treat two issues with your mastitis and rumination. This is another example of mastitis with some of the noise taken away. This particular cow had a 3-day scenario, um, high temperature. Second day, she has another high temperature. And third day, she's gone clinical. Same idea day here, 2 days early. If you catch her early, you give her some therapy, changes the whole scenario on how that cow's going to produce for the rest of her lactation if you take care of her early. We are using artificial intelligence for milk fever, mastitis, and ketosis. And that allows our algorithm to learn as we diagnose cases. The farmers can confirm the cows have mastitis, milk fever, ketosis, and that just makes the algorithm smarter and smarter. Um, this particular cow's got milk fever. Most cows have milk fever close to freshening. This red pacifier is your calving alert. Um, and then you have a decrease in body temperature a day later, which is indicative of milk fever, along with a decrease in activity. So usually you see a decrease in temperature and a decrease in activity at the same time for milk fever. Ketosis is a decrease in body temperature as well, but that's typically going to be 3 days in milk or beyond. This particular cow happens to be 8 days in milk. And then we get into heat detection. We're extremely good at heat detection. Cow peaks at heat detection at the end of her estrus. Uh, that is going to trigger what we call the ideal breeding window. And these are your ideal breeding windows here on the right. Green is obviously your ideal time to get the cow bred. Orange is still pretty good. And red is those days when you're out planting corn and don't get back to the barn and realize you got to get that cow bred. If you don't get the semen there, you're not going to get her bred. So you can still get some conception at the red. Um, like the thing I like about this particular page is you can actually see how frequently she's coming heat. And this one particular cow, she had a 27-day, 4-day, and a 70-day. Um, so probably she was bred and then had early embryonic death or something, and then had a short cycle, got recycled probably with hormones, and then now she's back in cycle. One of the things we do with internal body temperature that a lot of the other systems can't do is calving alerts. Very accurate on calving alerts on healthy cows. The things that cause decrease in body temperature in cows are calving alerts, ketosis, and milk fever. So once in a while you get a calving alert, and we call it a premature calving alert if the cow's subclinical for milk fever. Because you go look at the cow and you say, there's no way this cow's going to calve in 24 hours. You check her for ketosis and milk fever, and that gives you an opportunity to give that cow some therapy pre-calving, which changes that whole transition period. It's a real game changer. But most of the time, you get a calving alert. Usually within 24 hours, you're going to have a calf. This particular graph, there's no activity as drinking rate in this section here. You can see a big drinking bout right here. So we know that cow calved right in here. Um, what's the first thing they do when they get up after delivering a calf? They lick the calf and then they go get something to eat and get something to drink. So there's a clear indication that cow has already calved. Water frequency, water volume. We've kind of gone over that already. But if you click on the screen, the live screen, you can actually see some of the data here at that particular intersection in time. In this particular cow, we're showing 103-degree body temperature, which is actually with internal body temperature is actually normal. Um, when the cows go deviate 9/10 of a degree above that, you're going to get a high temperature alert. 9/10 below that, you're going to get a low temperature alert. And you can also see the water volume here. This particular cow drank 39 gallons of water on this particular day. Lameness is another one we can actually see on the graph. We don't actually have a active alert for lameness yet, but you can see where the cow has a spike in activity. At the same time, she has a drinking bout, and that happens repeatedly. That's an indication that cow is lame. Want to go take a look at her? We do offer the system in an app form as well as a desktop. This is what the app form looks like on your phone. This being your home screen. This is your insemination screen. This is a graph of an estrus, and then the calving alerts. And all that information is also available on the desktop. We cannot fit it all on a one screen on the desktop anymore. So if you scroll down, you can actually see the rest of it. Um, there's quite a bit of information there to be had for health, reproduction. We do integrate with multiple organizations. And in the Northeast, probably the big ones are going to be PC Dart and Valley Ag or Dairy Comp. We do integrate with GEA, DeLaval, Bomatic, Bovasync. Then we get up into Canada and Europe, you're going to Uniform Agri is a big one. And answers to some common questions. We do have a 5-year battery life. We do guarantee that bolus for the life of the cow. So whatever cow you have assigned it to, if the battery dies, um, we send you a free bolus. Base station does not require Wi-Fi. All we require is a cell phone signal, 110-volt outlet, so it's extremely simple to put in. So far, to my knowledge, we've only got 3 installations in the United States that do not have cell signal, and those are hardwired right into the Ethernet. Just happens to be 2 of those happen to be in my territory in Delhi and one in Kentucky. The boluses cannot be removed and reassigned to different cows, and that's a FDA requirement for disease prevention. Uh, we do activate the bolus with a magnet. And one of the cool functions we do have is if a cow has a magnet, we can actually tell you if a cow has a magnet. So we were developed in Austria in 2009. So we continue to improve our product. We do have a very good return on investment, and I'd be glad to discuss that with individuals on a farm-to-farm basis because it is very specific to farms. You got any questions, you can contact me on my cell phone number, text me, or email me. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Joe. And we will have time for questions after the second presentation. So we'll have a time for a Q&A and then a discussion session as well. So thank you so much. Up next, we're going to shift gears and we're going to have Rebecca share her screen.
I will get that up right now.
And if folks have questions and you're going to forget it, please write it into the chat. But we will have a chance to unmute following this next presentation. So, Rebecca, the floor is yours when you're ready. Thank you.
Yep. How's that look? Come through? Perfect. Okay. Yeah, thank you all for joining today and giving me this chance to speak with you all. My name is Rebecca Colgan, and I am the Northeast Customer Success Specialist for Merck Animal Health and Sense Hub Dairy. Just talking a little bit about our teams at Merck Animal Health and our Sense Hub Dairy teams. We have 3 customer-facing teams. So we have dairy monitoring sales. That would be who you work with for contracts, pricing, things like that. We also have a tech solution support team. So they would be responsible for um, like hanging the antennas in the barn on install day, and then after install, making sure that the system is always up and running. So if you have an antenna that's offline or your computer goes down, they kind of work in the background to get all of that back up and running for you. And then we have our customer success team. So that is the team that I am a part of. My primary responsibility is training. So after initial install, getting you and farm employees up and running on what the reports and data are telling you, how to implement them into daily use. And then I kind of stick with you guys throughout the whole time that you are a customer. So, continuing that relationship by creating and modifying reports, making sure that they're farm specific, and then also leveraging Merck resources to help you guys in your operation as well. So, Merck has a team of cattle territory managers. Their primary responsibility would be like managing our biopharma portfolio, so vaccines and repro hormones. And then we also have a team of technical service veterinarians. So they would be offering insight more from a consulting level point of view. And all of us work together to support you guys, as well as, make sure that you are hitting your herd performance goals and reaching those management efficiencies that you're trying to gain from investing in a monitoring system. So, what is it that we are selling to you guys? So, we have two monitoring solutions. The one on the left-hand side of the screen is called Data Flow, Heat Time Pro, SCR, kind of multiple names throughout the years that we have been on the market. SCR is probably our most common name. This platform is kind of our tried and true. It was primarily our solution for larger sized herds when we first came to market, and also our solution for multi-site. So that would be one cow file, multiple servers at different locations. And it is the most proficient platform to integrate with our milking points and sorting gates, which I'll talk briefly about that at the very end as well. And then on the right-hand side, we have kind of our newer platform, which is Sense Hub Dairy, also referred to as SCR. So that name has kind of been out in the marketplace for a while now. Um, Capacity is not an issue with our Sense Hub platform anymore. So we have a new V2 server that can hold easily up to 5,000 plus animals. It is cloud-based, and also our solution for young stock monitoring. So that is a monitoring solution that has been out to the market going on 2 years now. And I will also briefly brush over that at the end as well. So we have two wearable options. We have a monitoring neck collar and also an ear tag. Both measure the same cow states and can go into either one of these platforms. So first starting, what is all of the data that you are going to get out of this monitoring system? So we'll talk about one of your daily reports that you would get, and that is heat and repro lists. So the snippet on the top corner is going to be the report in the Sense Hub platform, and then the bottom snip is going to be a report out of the data flow program. So both giving you the same information, just kind of looks a little bit different. All of the individual cow information is going to be what we pull from your third-party integration. So most commonly Dairy Comp, PC Dart, and we also have a growing number of bovasync herds. We can integrate with all of them, and all of the information that you enter directly into those programs will come over automatically. And then the two values on your repro reports that the collar or ear tag will generate are breeding window and heat index. So let's talk a little bit about breeding window. So this is essentially representing hours to ovulation. So when the cow enters your breeding list, that is when she crosses into high activity. So if we look at the top graph, that is kind of just like a blown in version of the individual cow graph. The green is the raw activity data, and then the orange line is going to be that change from her baseline. So when she reaches peak activity and starts coming down off of peak, that is when the breeding window starts. So essentially, approximately an acceptable time range, 24 hours to get semen into that animal. The most ideal time to breed is going to be between, the 23 to 11-hour range. So that is how the breeding window works, and essentially making sure that you guys get the best conception rates on those animals. And then we have heat index. So heat index is going to be the certainty in that system heat event. So the stock reports what every system comes with initially. The heat index threshold is set at a 32. And of course, over time, farms can, edit that and make it a little bit more specific if you want that threshold to be set a little higher. But essentially, it is calculated by increase in activity, decrease in rumination, length and duration of that cycle, and then days from last breeding or last system heat event. So, is she displaying estrus in a cyclical behavior, or maybe she's off cycle? That will give her either more or less points to her heat index. So in addition to just the basic heat report that you'll be getting, we have a bunch of more repro-specific reports. These are just some of them. There are a plethora more, but kind of the ones that I see most relevant would be anestrus cows. So that is going to be maybe a report of cows that you want to enroll into Time Day I. Misbreedings report, any animal that we detect a system heat event on with no breeding event, so measuring some compliance. Suspected for abortion, pregnant or dry animals that had an increase in activity. And then we also have the ability to automate heat events into dairy comp or Bovasync. So instead of manually entering or recording those heat events in your third party, we can automatically send them over. And then they can also automatically create a command to include those pregnant or dry cows on your herd checklist as a check abort. So taking a lot of manual work out of the question, a lot of it can be automated now. So in addition to repro reports, we have some health reports. And when you are talking about accuracy of a technology system, you really want to look at the sensitivity and specificity of the program. So this is a study we did with Cornell a few years back. It was performed on a very progressive, well-managed farm in central New York, and we essentially collared all of the cows and in the background recorded when the system health event was detected, and then compared that to when the farm visually detected her as ill. So all of that is to say that approximately 93% of the time we were flagging those system health events 2 days before the farm visually detected them as being off. So this is what your health reports would look like. So again, the top one is the Sense Hub and the bottom is data flow. All the information on the individual cow coming from that third-party software. And then we are generating for you a health index. So health index of 86 or lower will trigger them to be put onto this health list, or low rumination minutes. So maybe those cows that are uh, clinically or chronically ill for multiple days in a row, their health index may increase because that is their new normal. There will be a rumination filter in that report to include them on the list if their daily rumination minutes are still too inappropriate. So this is another report that is set up to be of daily use. And these are what the individual cow graphs look like. So the purple is the raw rumination minutes, and then you can see all of the little icons on the graph. Those are what came from third party. So the little baby carriage is calving events. The little black lying down cow, I call it, is going to be distress events. So when the cow is inactive or has a super quick drop in rumination, we flag them with distress events. And then the little medical bags are system health events. So when their health index was below a 76, we stamp those on there as well. Additional health reports that are available. Most of these are custom reports actually. So we have 7-day group averages. That is going to take into account daily eating, daily rumination, rumination variability, and daily heavy breathing, and put it on a report on a group level. We have the ability to do automatic reports. So a lot of the time, consultants, vets, maybe herd managers, owners, they can set this report to be emailed or saved to the desktop weekly. So everybody is kind of on the same page of how groups are performing from a herd perspective, kind of moving away from, that individual cow perspective. How are they doing on a group level? Fresh cows to move. This is going to actually populate the healthiest fresh cows in your group. So maybe you need to hold um, some fresh cows a bit longer, or you have a lame cow that just doesn't do great in the big group of cows. You want to put her in your fresh pen to get her in there instead. This will give you some fresh cows that are doing better to move out sooner, so you can keep that fresh pen a little bit depopulated. Then we have transition pre-fresh and transition post-fresh reports. So this will be giving rumination averages by days carried calf or rumination averages by days in milk. So how are your cows transitioning from far off to close up? How are they transitioning at calving? A lot of consultants will most likely be utilizing these reports to also offer some insights onto maybe how to better those transition periods. And then we have a lot of group graphs. So some of the ones that are most important that I see farms using: daily group consistency, daily group monitoring, group heat stress. These will give you specific times in the day when they're eating. So maybe you can see when they're out of feed on a group level. And for the sake of time, I didn't have slides to go directly into those, but if you are existing customer and don't have those, um, feel free to reach out to me and I can walk through those with you. And then similar to the heat events, we have ill events. So we can automatically stamp ill events into Dairy Comp or Bovasync. Then you can kind of track, again, for compliance purposes, did she have 3 ill events before we treated her? Or maybe she had 3 ill events after we treated her and that treatment wasn't the best option for her. So another way to kind of monitor from your third party. Monitoring integrations. So we have milking points in the parlor as well as sorting gates. So this would work. Our caller works as an install ID with our milking points or the ID at our sorting gates. So if those are kind of in your timeline a year down the road from now, though the collar would be the best option for that. We do have young stock monitoring. So right now we offer it with suckling calves. So they have to be bottle fed, not specific to hutches or grouped housing, either or, just on a nipple at this point. Um, and we can monitor the calves as young as 1 day old, 1 minute old. As long as that tag is assigned within the first 4 days of life, we will give her a 27-hour baseline to flag her if she has an abnormal day on the Young Stock Health Report. And that is an algorithm that only goes into our Sense Hub program. And then we have LED lights. So kind of our cow location solution for collars is our sorting gate. If you want to go the ear tag route, we have an LED light that will blink, and we can program those to flash automatically, maybe once a week for move lists, vaccines, vet check, anything like that to help kind of locate those cows a little bit easier. This is my information. Sarah Nugent is in the Northeast for sales. So if you want specific pricing, you can reach out to her. And then our tech support number as well. So if there are any existing customers out there that don't have the tech support information, feel free to take that down as well.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Yes, and I will stop sharing. Welcome.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So now we will move on to our Q&A if folks have questions. Um, and I will monitor the chat as well. And I can start us off as folks start to brainstorm. So I've done a ton of work with wearables, and I really foresee them being as another eye on the farm, right? They have monitoring throughout the entire day. Uh, uh, just based on your experience, what are some of the client feedback you've gotten for each of the individual wearables? And maybe is there, something notable that they've mentioned about it? So, for the work that I did, we really weren't able to have the best estrus detection, and we were within a short 2 month breeding window. So then it was really critical to, in those 2 months, get everybody pregnant that we could, and then whoever was open at the end of that 2 month period wouldn't, stay in the herd. So that was the management style. And so wearables became critical when trying to be within that 2 month interval. So I just wanted to give you the opportunity to potentially share any customer feedback regarding the implementation of these wearables.
Yeah, it's actually funny because I will interact with farms and existing customers that, maybe they had a power outage or something happened where the wearables went out for a period of time or something, and they were like, we had to remember how to actually like visually walk our cows and do all the things that we've been so used to just taking our report and going. So I think the efficiencies that it create are so immense that the farms just they change their whole management strategies. And I think that's the kind of the main goal of investing in a monitoring system. Um, and also getting insights on what to change. So it creates efficiencies in your daily tasks, but also being able to be alerted. I've seen when the wrong grain was mixed into feed, and they saw instantly within, an hour that the ruminations crashed, something was wrong. They would have not known until probably a day or two later.
Right.
So I think just gaining all of those insights is, and the efficiencies is really the biggest feedback that I get.
Yeah, accountability.
Yeah, yep. It's just, yeah, 24/7 too. I mean, you can have great cow people, but they have to sleep, they have to go home at night, and the monitoring system never does. It'll be there at night watching the cows. It's 24/7, holidays, weekends.
Yeah.
And we've got several customers that have ranted and raved about the fact that the early detection of metritis has allowed them to get the cows pregnant faster because they can treat subclinical metritis. And one in particular, his consultant is now telling him he doesn't have enough cows on a DMB list because he's gotten them all pregnant.
Yeah, great problem to have. Well, maybe not right now. I don't know if or these past couple of months. Just have to change your culling strategy. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think early diagnosis, and I hear that, and we saw that as well. Milk production, the response in milk production is usually what we tend to see first. And the systems are picking that up, 2, 3 days before we see that. So I think the intervention early on is certainly one of the largest benefits of wearables. So thank you for sharing that. And then there was a comment in the chat. So, do we have any technology for grazing-based operations, specifically to control the movement of animals in the field? So, both of these systems work in a grazing setting, but I think what you're mentioning is more potentially like a fencing type of system. And that's not the focus of our webinar today. But if you look in our previously recorded webinars on the YouTube page, and we can drop that link here, we did have a session on virtual fencing, and that's available online to everybody to access. So thank you for that question. I didn't know if you guys wanted to add anything, but I just wanted to say that both of these systems can be integrated into a grazing operation. So, yeah. And then, Stephen, I see your hands up. You're free to unmute and ask or share in the chat.
Hi, yeah, I'll ask. Thanks for both of those talks, really interesting. And I'm interested in what the sort of farm demographics are that are actually taking up these sensors. So who's buying them and using them in terms of farm size and characteristics, I suppose.
We we have dairy farms across the globe, anywhere from a herd of 2 cows all the way up to 10,000 cows. Grazing operations, tie stalls, free stalls, organic. In the next month or so, we're probably going to have about 10 farms in the Northeast that are all organic. That will be in Vermont and New Hampshire, Vermont and Maine. So quite a variety. And in a tie stall, estrus detection can be a bit of a challenge, and we do pretty well in a tie stall.
Yeah. Uh, but if you were say I tried to sort of nail you down to say where were your main sales, what would your answer be?
Bulk of the sales are 100 cows and bigger in freestyle operations.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, I would say pretty similar demographic. We actually earlier this year we hit 2 million cows monitored just in the US alone,
Hmm.
which is an amazing feat. Um, but yeah, similar to what Joe said, we have farms that are, me monitoring 20 heifers, and we have farms that are measuring 20, 30,000 cows. So we have a few different pricing options that go along with that as well. So we have a starter application plan, which is activity only. So if a farm wants to start with just their heifers, it's a little bit of a cheaper price point, and they can just have the activity feature unlocked. And then our premium application plan is for unlock activity and rumination. So most of our farms that are monitoring cows. So lots of options, and yeah, farms of all different sizes decide to start monitoring.
Great. Um, Thanks for that. And
Yep.
I just had a follow-on question specifically about your health index for the Merck system. Is that simply using I say simply, but that's not what I meant really, but just using the activity, the accelerometer algorithm to get at that health index, or how does that
Um,
work?
yeah, so we measure 9 different cow states. So all of those cow states go into our health index. Rumination will most likely hold a larger piece in our health index piece. Um, but it's essentially like her grade for the day. So one neat thing about our algorithm is it all is based on the cow herself. So she sets that baseline for herself because, you know, working with cows, all cows are different. Um, Normal for cow one is not going to be the same normal for cow two. So the health index will fluctuate and change with that cow over time.
Okay, so it's taking into account her normal behavior and trying to pick
Mhm.
out irregularities in that
Yep.
behavior. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah, great. Thanks.
I had a question about the bolus for Joe. Um, I know you said you can't take them out, or you're not supposed to take them out and put them in a new cow, but I'm wondering what happens when a cow goes to slaughter. Does that need to be flagged or how that's dealt with?
Most cases, the slaughter plant just processes it like they process a particular magnet or any other trash the cow eats. They just process it in a normal fashion. We do have one slaughterhouse that we're aware of that throws them in a 55-gallon drum, and when the drum is full, they send it to the recycler and buy pizza for everybody at the slaughterhouse.
Okay, gotcha. Is the slaughterhouse made aware when the cow goes in that they have
The,
this, or
to my knowledge, nobody makes the slaughterhouse aware that they're coming.
they just find it in
The,
gotcha.
most slaughterhouses are set up to handle some kind of garbage inside the cow's stomach. Because cows, if it's put in front of the cow and the cow can fit it in their mouth, they'll eat it.
Hmm.
So they end up with some kind of garbage in there. Most cows will have some form of gravel and other stuff in their stomach when they get to the slaughterhouse, and the slaughterhouse just has a process to be able to handle it.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Those were great questions. And we still have time, so I'm just going to put up a few slides here, but I just wanted to make you aware that we have our next webinar upcoming on February 25th, and we're going to have a part 2 where we'll have Aaron Creighton, who's going to talk to us about the Alta Cow Watch system, as well as Tara Bonner talking about Cow Manager. Um, so join us for that session. And additionally, as Susan mentioned, we do have a survey where you can share more information about what you like or what you don't like about our webinar, potentially future topic suggestions, and you can scan the QR code on the page. But we have time until 12:30, so if folks want to hang around, have a few other questions, we are happy to take them. But at this time, if folks need to log off, I really appreciate everybody attending. And as we mentioned, reach out to us if you have questions for Joe and Rebecca. I know they shared their information, but we'd be happy to share, additional information with that. And this webinar will be posted on our YouTube page as well. So folks want to reference back, they have a point of contact there. So thanks so much.